What if I told you that most of the negative thinking in your life isn't caused by what happens to you, but by how your mind explains it afterward? You wake up, and before the day even begins, your thoughts are already judging, predicting, replaying, and worrying. Nothing dramatic has happened yet, but the tension is already there. That pressure isn't coming from the world. It's coming from inside. The mind takes neutral moments and turns them into threats. Over time, this becomes exhausting. Quiet moments feel heavy. Simple challenges feel overwhelming. You start believing that something is wrong with you. But there isn't. The issue isn't that your mind is broken. It's that it has never been trained. Stoic philosophy exists for this exact reason. It offers a way to discipline thought, calm emotion, and regain authority over your inner world. In this video, you'll learn 8 Stoic rules that don't fight negative thinking on the surface, but remove it at the root. Negative thinking matters because it shapes how you experience everything. It influences your decisions, your confidence, and your sense of peace. Stoicism doesn't treat this as a personality flaw or a mood problem. It treats it as a skills issue. The Stoics understood the mind as something that could be shaped through attention, practice, and discipline. Thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca weren't trying to escape life's difficulties. They were trying to meet them with clarity instead of chaos. Their ideas still apply today because human psychology hasn't changed. We still suffer when our thoughts run unchecked. Stoicism offers a practical framework to restore balance by teaching you how to see clearly, respond deliberately, and stop feeding thoughts that weaken you. The first rule is mastering your interpretation. Stoicism begins with a simple but powerful insight: events themselves are neutral. What disturbs you is not what happens, but the meaning you attach to it. The mind reacts fast, often without asking whether its conclusions are accurate. Over time, these automatic interpretations harden into habits. Stoic discipline slows this process down. It teaches you to separate what actually occurred from the story your mind added. When you remove judgment, emotion loses its fuel. This doesn't make you passive. It makes you precise. You stop arguing with reality and start choosing your response. Once you learn to question your interpretations, negative thinking loses its authority. The second rule is understanding control. Much of mental suffering comes from trying to manage what was never yours to manage. When the mind focuses on outcomes, opinions, timing, or circumstances, it creates tension because none of these things obey your will. Stoicism draws a clear boundary. Some things depend on you. Many things do not. When this boundary is ignored, the mind becomes restless and reactive. When it is respected, calm returns. Releasing control is not resignation. It is alignment. You reclaim energy that was wasted on resistance and redirect it toward what you can govern: your actions, standards, and inner response. Negative thinking fades when responsibility is placed in the right location. The third rule is discipline through discomfort. A mind that avoids difficulty becomes fragile. When discomfort appears, it feels threatening, and the mind responds with fear-based thinking. Stoicism teaches the opposite approach. By willingly facing manageable difficulty, you strengthen your tolerance for uncertainty and pressure. Discomfort stops feeling dangerous and starts feeling familiar. This rewires how the mind responds to challenge. Fear thrives in avoidance. It weakens in exposure. Discipline creates stability because it trains the mind to remain steady even when conditions are not ideal. Over time, this quiet strength reduces the need for catastrophic thinking. The fourth rule is expecting setbacks. Negative thinking often spikes because life doesn't meet our expectations. The Stoics understood that surprise amplifies suffering. When the mind expects ease, any obstacle feels personal. Stoic preparation removes this shock. By mentally acknowledging that setbacks are part of life, you reduce their emotional impact. This isn't pessimism. It's realism. Preparedness allows you to respond instead of react. When the mind is no longer startled by difficulty, it stays grounded. Calm replaces outrage. Acceptance replaces resistance. Negative thinking loses power. When the mind stops being caught off guard. The fifth rule is anchoring yourself in the present. Negative thinking rarely lives in the moment you are actually in. It lives in memory or imagination. The past becomes a source of regret. The future becomes a source of fear. Stoicism brings attention back to what is happening now, because this is the only place where action and clarity exist. Presence narrows the mind's focus and reduces unnecessary mental noise. When attention rests on what is real and immediate, exaggerated thoughts lose momentum. Stability returns because the mind is no longer chasing scenarios that do not exist. The sixth rule is reshaping your inner dialogue. The way you speak to yourself shapes how you experience life. Over time, internal language becomes automatic, and automatic language becomes identity. Stoicism teaches you to listen to your inner voice without submitting to it. Thoughts are examined, not obeyed. This creates distance between awareness and habit. When you consciously refine your inner dialogue, your perception of yourself changes. With that change comes different behavior, and with different behavior comes a different life. Negative thinking weakens when the voice inside becomes measured instead of hostile. The seventh rule is choosing virtue over emotion. Emotions are signals, not leaders. When emotions dictate decisions, the mind becomes unstable. Stoicism replaces emotional impulse with principle. Wisdom, restraint, courage, and fairness act as internal anchors. When decisions are guided by values instead of moods, clarity returns. Emotional intensity fades because it is no longer in control. Negative thinking thrives in emotional extremes. It dissolves in disciplined judgment. Living by principle creates consistency, and consistency creates calm. The eighth rule is building momentum through daily action. Stagnation feeds negative thinking. When nothing moves, the mind fills the space with doubt. Stoicism values steady progress over dramatic change. Small, consistent actions restore trust in yourself. Movement creates evidence. Evidence quiets fear. As momentum builds, the mind stops questioning your capability and starts cooperating with it. Negative thinking struggles to survive in a mind that proves its strength through action. When these rules work together, they form a system. Interpretation becomes clearer. Control becomes defined. Discipline strengthens resilience. Preparation reduces shock. Presence stabilizes attention. Inner dialogue becomes supportive. Virtue guides decisions. Momentum restores confidence. Together, they change how the mind operates. Here is a truth worth remembering: a disciplined mind does not eliminate difficulty, it eliminates confusion. That clarity is what ends negative thinking. If you step back and look at this system as a whole, you'll see that Stoicism isn't about suppressing thoughts. It's about training the mind to stop feeding the ones that weaken you. You don't need to fix everything at once. Start with one rule. Practice it for the next 24 hours. Watch how your reactions shift when you apply discipline instead of habit. If this helped you see your mind more clearly, like the video, subscribe for more Stoic philosophy, and share it with someone who could use calm instead of chaos. And tell me in the comments, which rule are you committing to today?